Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about Chaos Knight. This is a fun gameplay we're going to be watching, and I honestly think that this hero might be one of the next broken heroes. I'm calling it now, and the reason why I'm specifically calling it now is I already think the hero is actually extremely underrated. I also think it's one of the better pub heroes, and what I mean by that is it has good pub characteristics. It can farm, and it should farm, it scales, and it wins lane. So basically, it doesn't get off to a bad start most games, it can carry into the late game, and it can even solo kill people. I love this hero for solo queue, and let's talk about why. But before we do, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. It would mean the world. Also, I just want to say I am making a full drafting course for the carry role on the GameLeap website. Recently, I just made a video on whether or not meta matters when it comes to drafting carries. I made a video laying out the difficulty of each carry and putting it into 3 categories. And then after that, what I'll be doing is basically kind of breaking it down into full categories and saying, okay, Medusa, Naga, and TB should be picked in this type of game. And essentially, I'll be like really making these concise and clear categories so you guys can look at the draft that's going on and then be able to pick a better hero. And so yeah, if you're interested in that, go sign up to the GameLeap website. It's in the description down below, and we'll see you guys there. Alright, so the first thing to talk about this hero is 2 things. It's base stats and items. The items are 2 gauntlets, 2 branches, tangos, quelling. You can do this every single game, it's good. You have 74 damage, 5 armor, and 325 movement speed. Literally, these are some of the highest stats. Every single one is one of the highest stats in the game. Think about that, right? For instance, Shaman. This hero is known for his high base damage, right? 74, CK matches that. 5 armor. Right? A lot of top armor heroes have like 5 to 8. CK has 5. 325 movement speed. I'm pretty sure that's like in the top 5 of movement speeds. So this hero is inherently a stupid good laner. It also has a stun that if you get lucky is a 2.2 second stun and 180 damage. That is like one of the best stuns in the game if you get a little bit lucky, and even if you don't, it still is really solid. Now here's the gist for the laning stage. In a lane like this with a Snapfire, you can probably imagine you have a stupid amount of kill threat as Chaos Knight. Basically, anytime you have a hero with good movement speed, good base damage, and a stun, you're going to be able to get a kill, right? Especially when you have 2 stuns, which they have in this lane. Unfortunately, they're against a life stealer, so their kill threat, it doesn't go to nothing, but it's much lower than your average carry. So if you're against something like a PA, or a Sven, or a Wraith King, I highly recommend you ask for a position 4, or if you have a position 4, you look for kills. Other than that, in a lane like this life stealer, you can note that he skips his W at level 2 and instead takes the passive. If you aren't sure what CK passive does, you have a 33.33% chance to crit and heal. And so basically, it's the better sustain spell in the lane. It's much better for these even matchups against a hero like Lifestealer to make sure that you can just focus on really good CS and really good denies. And you can see, at 230, he's 13-3. And before we even get to the 5 and 10 minute mark, I just want to say, guys, if you can't get 25 by 5 in terms of last hits and by minute 5 on this hero, you're doomed. You're doomed. This hero is so easy to last hit with. It's insane. Now, the next reason why CK is a broken hero is he takes advantage of Armlet. I unironically think Armlet's going to get nerfed in the upcoming patch, which might seem weird to you because you probably never buy the item, but basically a large portion of the offlane meta in TI was Helm of Iron Will. Giving you 6 armor and 5 HP regen, it practically makes you invincible in the laning stage. It puts CK up to a staggering 12 armor. He's legitimately a Terrorblade with meta at this point in the game, with his damage and movement speed and armor. But yeah, basically what Armlet does is it gives you 50 damage when it's on. It gives you a ton of armor and a ton of attack speed. And so any hero that can use Armlet right now basically is going to be solid. Like, I kind of mean that. If you were watching Collapse's gameplay in the recent TI, he bought Armlet on Mars, he bought Armlet on Legion, he bought it on all these heroes, and you can even see in this clip here, right when he hits his Armlet timing, he kind of does this weird play, which I even think was an experiment on his part. I think Funnick wasn't really sure if this was going to work out or not, but basically most carries, if you have Armlet ulti and you cast your stun and armor reduction spell on them, they can't fight you. Like, a Lifestealer could barely fight him. Keep that in mind. A Lifestealer could barely fight him. And that's a hero that naturally counters CK in some regard. And so yeah, just keep that in mind, how, you know, legitimately insane this build is. Now, in terms of gameplay, I need you guys to copy this 1 for 1. Please do not start doing your own thing and roaming. I swear, if I see you guys go mid as like a level 4 or 5 CK and get a kill and be like, woohoo! I reduced their armor by 4 and then stun them. I'm so useful. If you do that, I swear, you're going to lose most of your games. Okay? Of course, you'll win 49, 50% of them like the average Dota player is, and you'll get stuck in your rank. But assuming you're trying to gain MMR, what you need to do is what he's doing here. Tanking a bunch of bombs in the trees. No, but in all seriousness, what he's more so trying to do here is just soak his lane, okay? Stay in your lane. You might be like, oh, but Speed, what if I have a bad lane? Don't have a bad lane. Learn to have a good lane. This hero is a stupid good laner. That's the first thing, okay? Second thing, farm, right? Notice here, they take the bottom tier 1 tower. He unironically TPs to the dead lane and is just gonna farm it. That's his game plan. And with maxed out E, you never have to go back to base. With the occasional clarity, you have infinite resources. You do not need to go back to base ever. And this should be your game plan. Run down the side lanes, and then when you're running down the side lanes, pay attention to the minimap, and if anyone shows up, you should try to kill them with your armlet and your ulti. And that is the gist. Most heroes can't fight CK. He's one of the best skirmishers in Dota. I would say there's only a couple of heroes that have a chance against him, like maybe the Bat Rider, maybe Necrophos, like this type of thing, you know, maybe an overfarmed hero or an Orchid Buyer, you know, something like that. But for the most part, especially if it's a carry, you're just going to crush them. Now, the next thing you can do, considering you're going to be playing the dead lane a lot, is use your ulti to farm. I just want to really add this in the video because I think it's super important. Just make sure you use the farm. Like, people are going to be so afraid to use it. It's a 75-second cooldown, guys. It's not nothing, but it's definitely not a ton, right? It's you know, it is a cooldown, but it's not a huge cooldown. And so please use it to shove in the lanes. You can see even when he's team fighting here and going in this lifestealer, he still is shoving his illusion down the top lane and getting himself farmed. And so honestly, even in this upcoming clip here, he's farming ancients and he's actually just going to use it to farm the ancient camp, right? The ancient stack. And so just don't be afraid to do this. I know I'm repeating myself, but I know people like have this bad habit where they're so afraid to use the spells that give them kills as a farming tool. And it's almost always the wrong idea in Dota, because the reality is, if you use your quote-unquote fighting spell, something like Meta or Phantasm, to farm, you can just avoid fights for a bit. And if the enemy team is holding their spell and you manage to avoid their fight and use yours to farm, you're just going to wildly outfarm them. It's not even going to be close. So the upcoming fight here, I need to cover a couple things. Number one, the item build you go is Armlet, Treads, Echo Saber, Aether Lens. Copy this every game, you'll do very well. After that, you buy the Shard. If you don't know what the Shard does on CK, basically every time you throw your Chaos Bolt, it creates an illusion of you that attacks them for 6 seconds. That's a really long time. 6 seconds is stupid long. Also considering that 6 seconds almost aligns perfectly with the 7-second stun that is Chaos Bolt. Keep in mind Chaos Bolt is usually a 10-second cooldown when maxed out, but at level 15 you have a 3-second Chaos Bolt cooldown, and so you can imagine that the concept here is you buy these really efficient 2k gold damage items in the Echo Saber and especially in the Armlet, you buy Treads, and then you just chuck stuns at people. And if they ever get caught out of position or get low, you can also use the Aether Lens to pull them in with the Reality Rift and blow them up. And this upcoming fight here is a perfect example of the potential of this hero. He doesn't even have Phantasm, and you might be like, oh my god, that seems like he shouldn't do anything. Nope, this build is actually quite fine even without Phantasm. Of course, I still recommend generally playing around Phantasm cooldown if you're going to take a major team fight, but in this case here, he didn't have Phantasm, but it's not a 5-on-5. You could see Shaman was dead, Techies was dead, and DK wasn't in the area, and so he felt like it was a good engagement. But yeah, you can see it's very easy to kite around with this fight. The stun range is stupid long. It's literally half the screen, literally half the screen. And yeah, he just shreds them down. You can see this DK here, you're like, oh, you know, this guy's got to be pretty tanky, and nah, just literally insta-dies. And in one of the last fights of the game, you're going to see the hero really come into play. Fight breaks out, stun, unironically half the screen. Pretty insane. Pulls him in, right? So you almost always want to throw the stun first. The reason for that is it's a very slow stun. And so if you pull them and then stun at this point in the game, a lot of the time they're going to see it coming in BKB. However, in the early game, a lot of the time you can just pull and stun if heroes don't have a way to prevent you from stunning them after you pull them. So just keep that in mind. And so yeah, just in general, stun first late game, you can pull first early game. But yeah, it goes on. The SF, for some reason, has this Armlet off. What a noob. But eventually turns it on, gets the kill. Also, keep in mind that SF had literally no chance of living, because at level 20, you have a Reality Rift Pierce's spell immunity talent. And that's pretty insane, right? Like, I mean, imagine all these squishy range heroes, the Linas, the SFs, right? The Leshraks, who are gonna buy a BKB and be like, yep, I'm good, and then you just one-shot them. And yeah, in the fight, you always want to kite out, right? You largely want to play around the stun cooldown. He does a good job of that, right? Gets gone by the lifestealer, kites out the lifestealer, waits for rage to end, and eventually can get off a nice stun and kill him off as well. And so you can see this hero, like, it's just so good at kiting in and out, and it literally can solo kill cores from the offlane role. And that's why it's so good for solo queue. If you can manage to have the discipline to farm a lot more than you're used to, and then show up to fights around your strong timings, your shard, your Echo Saber, your Armlet, your ulti cooldown, you're gonna dominate on this hero. And the coolest thing about CK is he doesn't fall off whatsoever. This hero is actually a menace in the late game. Of course, it's best to pick CK specifically when they don't have AoE damage. Yes, he does fall victim to the average, illusion clear, but all in all, honestly, it's not even that bad. Like, you can imagine, let's say they were to pick like Wyvern, Enigma, Tidehunter, Leshrak, who bought Shivas, and then Lycan, all right? Let's say this is their team comp. You still can play. Like, use your ulti to split push, buy the shard, and just play around your stun. No joke. Just play around your stun. If the Wyvern's even slightly out of position, throw a stun at him, pull him in, kill him, right? You don't even need to spawn your illusions. So it's not even a problem. And that's why this hero is a lot more flexible than you might think. He also easily solo kill supports techies. Literally gets eviscerated. And yeah, that's why I'm telling you guys, I usually don't say this, yes, I know it's like every video title is like, this is broken, that's broken. But I actually think this hero is like potentially getting to the stage of broken. I unironically think he is on his way to broken status. And so yeah, keep your eyes out for CK, give him a shot right now. You're gonna see what I'm saying. If you get good farm on this hero and you just buy a bunch of 2k gold items, you actually just kill everyone on the map. You also are a 3k HP hero if you need the frontline, as he just destroys the lifestealer. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!